Every day there is a forgetting, and every moment there is the possibility of remembering. Remembering who you truly are, awakening to your body, to the inner world and experience of being alive. Here is where you find the beauty, the joy. Here is where you free your soma. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Free Your Soma, Stories of Somatic Awakening and How to Live from the Inside Out. I'm Amy Takaya, and today I have Amanda Renouf with me. She is a business operations coach, a Fractal COO, who is on a mission to help DFY service providers and online DeFi coaches automate and simplify their business so they can focus more on living their life and serving their clients from overflow. I'm so excited to talk to her today because we're going to be going into all of that. What does all of that mean? How do we operate from a place of overflow versus a place of feeling overwhelmed and restricted, right? Amanda is an authority in this field. She's been teaching on this for a while. She's been featured in Forbes, BBC News, Business Insider, HuffPost, Mind Body Green, and has done brand collabs with Thinkific and Hello Bar on her marketing and business leadership strategies. She believes you deserve to have the freedom you set out to get when you started your business. I agree. I love that. Sometimes we forget that we are the boss as entrepreneurs and that we can create the systems and the boundaries that are actually going to give us that, again, that freedom that we desired when we started this. Working for ourselves should be something that we enjoy, not something that becomes, like we're our own slave driver, right? So I'm so excited to talk to you about all of this. It's been really close to my own experience in the last 2 years, starting my business and starting this podcast and everything. And so I'm so excited to, pick your brain and hear about the way that you help people create this for themselves, this capacity to actually scale their businesses. So thank you for being here, Amanda.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah. So I actually did one of your a while ago. It was like I did a little strategy from one of the posts that I saw where I realized that where I was at the point in my business was like, okay, I've kind of got the marketing thing down. I've even got like a client load. Like now I really need structure. Now I really need like how to build something, how to build infrastructure that's going to support me. And I found the things that I learned with you were really, really helpful and just kind of like immediately could apply them to what I was already doing and where I was at in my business, And so as I've continued to follow you and watch you develop and grow and just hear the things that you're talking about, I feel like, for anybody out there who's listening right now who feels overwhelmed and doesn't know why or how they're not getting more clients, sometimes our bodies are telling us, no,
Totally.
don't get any more clients because we're already at capacity. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what does capacity mean as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I love this question. I love this. So I have a belief system that one of our biggest blockers is not the strategy, is not the mindset practices, is not the above the body, essentially. That's what a lot of times in business we can think it is, right? We think like, oh, we need to just hustle out more, or we just need to show up in Facebook groups more, or we just need to do this more, when it actually you need to do strategically less to create a vacuum for receiving. And so a lot of times what I'll see with my clients is their next expansion, their next income level is on the other side of creating safety to receive more clients. And that is typically around how they package their offers, like how they show up with their own inner leadership and feeling safe in their body to hold bigger containers. That's typically around like what automations or processes are we putting in place so that we're really focusing our life force energy strategically, right? Instead of just being everywhere, split, trying to do all the things at once and just not having the energy for it. And it's also strategically making sure that we have space on our calendar so that we could actually be in our feminine flow as we're going throughout our day. When our calendars are like back to back to back to back, it's hard to like create a power vacuum or like receiving mode in your business to receive more, because you'll equate more with more energy, more efforting, more having to like give up your time essentially for it.
I love this. I think that how you describe that as a vacuum for receiving makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I feel like it's a growth thing because when we start off, like it takes so much to get your business off the ground. Like you really sometimes have to like haul ass and like push hard and like spend those long hours. And like if you're a parent, if you're like a mom, like maybe you're doing it after your kids go to bed. And there is this like initial push that has to occur, but we can't stay in that mode because that's not the mode in which our business is going to grow. And so what you're talking about is sort of adapting the way that we're doing things so that it's sustainable, right?
Exactly. And if you've ever heard the phrase like, what got you there won't get you there, like to the next step. So I think what happens a lot in our industry is people are confusing business seasons, right? So they see something in their news feed saying like to hustle it out, or they'll see something in their news feed saying to like just have a 10-hour work week. And it's really about knowing what season you are in business. So something that I teach is when you are in 0 to 6 figures, you are fully in expansion mode. So you are doing the hauling ass, you are doing the figuring out what your offers are, you're putting, content out and seeing what sticks. You are in this discovery phase of what's going to be your unique strategy, your unique soul blueprint to grow and expand your business. And then 6 figures and beyond is really where you start to bring in that capacity muscle. And it's kind of like you're hitting two levers in your business. You're hitting the expansion lever and you're hitting the capacity lever. It's the same like driving a car. You're not going to always be hitting the gas. You turn a corner, you'd spin out, right? But knowing like strategically when to like hit which lever in your business is so important. And typically, what I recommend when you are under 6 figures in your business, you're going to be doing more of the expansion mode, and not to feel bad about it or not to feel like you're not showing up in your business, right? Like that's actually your business season to be in, right? I hit 6 figures in 6 months in my agency because we were in expansion mode, right? And we put some like capacity in like once we hit like the 6 figure mark, and we're building as we grew. But yeah, that it's understanding your business seasons too.
Wow, I love that also because that makes sense with how just the world works. We're not, it's not summer all the time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we're not going to be in that space all the time to expand and grow. Sometimes there's going to be like a pruning or a pulling back that actually helps us move into the next phase. I think that's a really potent message for people to hear. Can we backtrack a little bit into kind of like
Totally.
how you came to understand this, like in your own experience? Like, what experiences did you go through that kind of informed what you teach now?
Oh my gosh, this is so good. So, I've been in, at the time of this recording, I've been in business for about 10 years. And what I will say is like my experience has been like an experience of extremes. So when I want to say like back in 2017, I hired like a mindset coach and I went hardcore into my feminine energy. Like I was not really showing up in my business. I was just like journaling all day, every day, like trying to like manifest. And what was surprising about that was I thought, like just focusing on positive vibes would actually create like a very flowy business, but it actually created a business that I didn't feel safe in because I couldn't predict when sales were going to happen. It was just manifesting sporadically, right? Like I'd randomly have somebody in my DMs reaching out to work with me, go like 4 months of nothing. And so it was really like a feast famine experience, only focusing on one energetic aspect of business. And if you want to like grow and expand, you got to bring like both aspects. It's like that yin and yang to like not only attract, but also to retain and grow, right? You need both aspects. And so, like, I've learned so much from both of them. And I'll also say on the flip side, there were times in my business where I was on the opposite end, where I was just hustling, where I was just working hard, where I was waking up at like 4 a.m., like, just working long hours and thinking, oh, all you need is strategy. And so what I've learned over the years is manifestation, babe. She has this amazing word to describe it, but it's called aligned hustle. So when you are aligned, right, you pour into yourself, like you do maybe your morning routine or manifestation practice or somatic workouts, then you are led into a aligned direction where then you have the energy and the life force energy to then go for it, right? No shadow of doubt, go for it. And the more you just keep doing this work of expansion capacity, you get a rhythm in your business. And that's where you find this natural flow where people are saying, like, oh, business is simple, business is flowy. It's because we need to bring this rhythm. And it's a rhythm that you learn. You might not have learned it as an employee in a 9 to 5, but as like an entrepreneur, it's a rhythm that you get to learn.
Mm, I love that. I think that's something that I've been beginning to like experience in my business more. And, this idea that you said earlier about like having days off completely from your business where you can really just receive what you already probably receive what you already have created for your life, where you can be in that state of receiving like, oh wow, look what I've already created. Look at the things in my life that are already functional and working, and being able to connect with and appreciate those things. What you also described here in being able to connect with our ability to grow and expand is in part connecting with our inner experience, right? That manifestation world, and also our outer duties and responsibilities and the way that the world actually works. Because as you said, just sitting there waiting for your dreams to come true, there's a reason that hustle culture exists because it's one side of the coin. It's part of how we
Mhm.
get things going. We have to be out there showing up, talking to people. We have to create those templates or somebody has to do that work, right? And so
Yeah.
we have to be able to balance it out and do both. And I mean, really what, you're saying here makes me think of kind of like the two sides of our brain or the two sides, we could talk about it as masculine and feminine, but it's really like, right brain that's like, got all the, juicy, creative, flowy stuff, but maybe doesn't have a timeline, maybe doesn't have a strategy, just has pure creation, and pure feeling and that energy that's going to like, have your clients resonating with your message, but without the actual message sent out at the right time, to the right people, that strategy piece, which is more like, we could say like left brain, you know, it's just it's not gonna have that same balance that you're describing. In a way, rhythm is a form of balance. If we think
Mhm.
about like even just the rhythm of a drum or the rhythm of our heart, there's a balance to it. There's a back and forth that's going on. And what you're describing sounds like a very kind of natural but gradual way of creating this as a business foundation. That's exciting.
Yeah, and also what's coming up intuitively to share too, because I work with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, and whenever like this is just what I get from my clients too before they enter into my programs, it's they're like, I thought systems was like boring and dry and like, ugh, right? Not fun. And like what I teach is more of a framework approach to systems. It's more you are predominantly in your feminine energy, but you're using some systems, some tweaks, some automations to support your energy. Because what I've noticed is so many of us are doing things that do not need to be done by us and not having the energy for the things that can only be done by us.
Mm.
And it's really getting strategic, and you naturally like evolve into the visionary CEO. Like I say this over and over again, but vision is your most important role in your business. Your ability to lead the ship, your ability to have great vision, your ability to have direction on where you're taking your business. the more you like navigate into the role of the visionary CEO, now it's more you're spending your energy in this space. This is how you actually like expand to like 7 figure, 8 figure, like really large brands and empires, because you're less in the day-to-day implementation. Let me set up this Kajabi page, right? And more in like, okay, we're going to do this type of launch that has never been seen before, right? That's vision. And then the implementation side, you can hire out for. So it's just when you're in the 0 to 6 figures phase, you're wearing all the hats. But what I encourage people once they hit that 6 figure stage to really start expanding their support system.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of the book by Gay Hendricks. What's that one where he talks about your zone of excellence and then your zone of genius?
Is
You
that the
know?
big leap?
Yeah, the big leap. So he talks about,
Wow, you're like that's
yeah.
mentioned 4 times in a week.
Oh, you've just been people have been talking to you about it?
Yeah, that's so funny. Oh my
Have
gosh.
you read
Okay.
it?
No, I haven't read it
Okay,
yet.
it's quick read. It's a quick read, and I think you're gonna be like, oh, they're talking about like the same thing I'm talking about, but just in like a really specific language, you know? But yeah, like taking the tasks that like really just are a time suck and you don't enjoy them, and then focusing, like you said, on the bigger picture stuff of like, where is this going? What is my bigger intention? Like, how do I see this like becoming, something great? And that and the other things you described, there's a word that's coming in, efficiency,
Mhm.
actually being efficient, because like that's what most of us really want. We want effortlessness and we want efficiency in our lives. We want that in our bodies, right? And we get easily misled to think that the way to create something efficient is to work harder or to work more.
Mm.
And it's actually the opposite. And, I'm a somatic educator and I specifically teach around your neuromuscular system. And in the work that I do, it's like we can do tiny little micro movements and we can make broad changes in how your musculature functions because we're teaching it to use only the amount of effort that you need to use to do the thing and no more than that. And that is efficiency, is using exactly the amount of effort and not overdoing, right? And so that's kind of what you're describing for a CEO, for a person who's building a business, is once they get to that point where they actually have enough capital to fully justify hiring out help, that's going to be able to create efficiency in their business.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why like I'm such a huge fan of like SOPs and writing everything down that you do in your business, because this is where you can see the gaps, right? It's you literally physically see it in front of you. So when I go in for Fractal COO work, it's typically I call it like, have you ever seen that reality TV show Bar Rescue? But like I come in like business coach rescue in terms of cleaning up and organizing their business. And what I see a lot, which is so beautiful, is like we are so in our feminine, like creatrix flow, but the shadow side of that is chaos, right?
Mm.
And so when we like don't take time to do like our systems, our operations, do a little bit of organization as we grow and scale, what ends up happening is like it's kind of like um if you've ever seen the show Hoarders, but apply that to
Mm.
your business. So what I try to say is if your business is more organized and minimalist, a stranger can go into your house and like find something, right? You could say, like, can you find this yellow dress? They could easily go into it. But if your yellow dress is like under a pile of clothes and it's like everything's everywhere and there's plants there and vice versa, it's going to be harder for them to find stuff. And so this is what happens with teams a lot is like you'll be so overwhelmed, right? Because you've been in so much creatrix mode, but you haven't taken that time to pause to organize that creatrix, right? That organize those creations. So team will come in, you'll hire a team really quickly because you're like, I need help, but they can't find anything. And so then it creates this experience where You are constantly being messaged in Slack or Voxer, and people are saying, where can I find this? What's
And
this?
then you
What's
have to go
that?
searching for it and you're like, where is it?
And then it just creates more chaos. So then you keep repeating the chaos cycle. And so it's this creation chaos cycle, creation chaos, creation chaos, creation chaos. When I come in and like help set up systems, what we're putting into that cycle is creation, organization, efficiency, simplicity. Then it repeats creation. And so now you have like a business that's more efficient, but it's also more like nervous system friendly. It feels like more relaxed. So you're still able to honor your creation, but we're just putting a little bit more structure in place so that you can stay in creation mode and not attract the shadow side, which is chaos.
Yes. Oh gosh, I relate to this so much. I grew up with a lot of chaos. And so for me, be building order in my life it's an ongoing journey because it's not something that was like built into the way that I lived life when I was a kid. And so I've been working to like shift that in so many different corners of my life over the years. And I feel like in my business, there's room for improvement. Absolutely. Like you probably would come in and be like, what's going on here? Right. But like my business actually feels like one of these places that I've taken refuge because like my home life, like especially right now, has just been like so chaotic. We're in the middle of like moving across the country and like we had like a housing situation that kind of like blew up in our faces. And so it's like when we have this kind of chaos in our lives, like having that place in your business where things are actually calm might be like huge. I mean, it's been huge for me to have like a little bit of refuge in like, oh, but like I go here and like, oh, all the podcast episodes are organized.
Yeah.
I go here and it's like a little bit simpler. It's like actually like calm and I can take some comfort in that. And I'm sure it works the other way around too, where if somebody like gets their house together, then it doesn't feel like such a difficult thing to get their business together, like those things kind of reflect each other, because as you're saying, like if you're trying to create a system or a space that someone can come into and start to work from, they need to know where things are. They need to know like how this works. And when there's chaos, it's going to be like half the work is just going to be about like, or, figuring out what to do with that chaos. Like that seems almost like the first step, kind of going back to this idea of the fractal COO. What is a fractal COO? What does that mean?
Yes, definitely. So there's different leadership roles in a business. I'm going to refer to it more in the coaching, like personal brand space. So in the coaching personal brand space, you have the online business manager. So the online business manager is somebody who typically project manages, is in the day-to-day of the business, and is creating SOPs, is leading the team, vice versa. Fractal COO is a step above that. So it's a step above in terms of responsibility and expectation of the role. So yes, I will help with project managing. I'll help with leading the team. I'll help with, the details of the business as well. But I'm also co-creating with the CEO in terms of the direction of the business and what needs to be put in place, like what projects do we need to focus on, bird's eye view, so that they are growing and scaling their business without in a way that's profitable, right? And efficient. And from the COO perspective, it's really a strategist perspective. So I'm going to kind of break down the different roles because it'll explain it even deeper. So when you have and typically like a coaching business, you'll typically have like an executive assistant, VA, who's the implementer, right? And so they are getting direction on what tasks to take. They are not in a strategist role. They are not coming in saying, we're going to do this. A lot of times people will expect their VA to be their OBM or to be their COO, right? And that's not their pay grade, right? Their role is to implement on your direction. Their role is to implement on your process. The OBM then comes in and might create process or might lead the team or might project manage offers. And then the COO comes in, directs OBM, directs VAs, and makes sure that the entire holistic infrastructure of the business is running in the direction in alignment with the CEO's vision.
Okay, so that's where the fractal piece comes in, is that it's this process that's then getting repeated, right? In a direction and moving towards a bigger goal.
Across multiple departments too.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. I get it. I think that's really rad. I had never heard that term before. And it makes sense that there would be someone in that space because, that is a lot of responsibility. And especially if you are the CEO, you may not have all of that knowledge to be able to do that piece of it. You may have the vision, you may have, the brand maybe even based on you and your vision, obviously, if you're the CEO, but you're not necessarily going to know how to operate all of those moving pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
For across all the departments. So kind of going back again to, the building process, because there's probably some people listening here who are like, oh, I'm like right at that six-figure mark, like this is where I need to go. And then for anybody like under that, what are your recommendations for people who are still in that building phase, who haven't quite hit six figures yet? And the closer and closer that they get to it, what are some of the things that they're going to want to do that would fit into this same kind of model of efficiency?
I would say if the goal is to hit six figures fast or to hit six figures in 2024 and you're in under the six figures mark, one platform, one strategy, one offer. The
Mm.
power of focus. You will grow your business so fast doing one platform, one offer, one strategy. So example, say like you choose Facebook, content marketing is your strategy, and then you have like a one-on-one coaching offer. Your goal is to just work that offer, fill it up until it hits six figures cash in one recurring year. And then now you're scaling strategically because now you already have an offer that monthly recurring, right? On repeat every single year brings baseline six figures in your business. That is huge. Just to repeat that over and over again, having one offer that reliably brings six figures into your business every single year without fail. That creates so much stability as you grow and scale and diversify your offers and diversify your platforms. Because now now you're more in the replication phase
Mm-hmm.
versus the figuring out phase. And what I see a lot in different like business programs or mindset programs that are supporting entrepreneurs is not really getting super tight on that focus on like what a business actually needs to be stable and to be around for the long term. So a lot of my clients have been around for like decades, right? And it's because of just thinking strategically and like what is it that your business needs to be around for decades. So say like if, a recession hits or say like there's a downturn in the industry, having like that consistency with one offer and then being able to add even more consistency and more stability with multiple offers as you grow and scale, like creates a lot of safety in your business.
Yeah, yeah. That was some of the first advice that I got with, when I decided to build this online business was to come up with an offer. And I mean, I started my first offer at four figures, and just said this, this is what it is. And it worked, and it worked because like I was really passionate about it. I mean, I am really passionate about what I do. And it has created a certain level of stability in my business. And I think it's funny that you say pick one platform because I've been using both Instagram and Facebook. You know, there's sometimes this feeling, I'm sure there's people who can relate where it's like, oh, I should be on TikTok too. Oh, I should be on
Mhm.
YouTube. I should do it all. I should be on all the platforms. And like, what would you say is the difficulty with trying to be on all platforms? Why would that not be a good idea?
So I would recommend diversifying your platforms once you get a VA.
Mm,
That's my personal opinion. Like other people will say like, Amanda, you're wrong, like blah, blah, blah. I'm just speaking in terms of like doing it in a way that's very relaxed, right? So I teach kind of like the microphone method. So the microphone method is where you choose one platform that you define channel and create content for, and like it just flows out. And your VA will take that content using styling guides, templates, based off of your preferences for how you want the post to show up on different platforms, and then we'll repurpose it same day across different platforms. So say like you love posting on Facebook, like you could write long posts all day, every day, right? They will take that post, turn it into an email. They'll take that post, turn it into an Instagram post. They'll take that post, turn it into an Instagram story, take that post, repurpose it into like, whatever type of blog or vice versa. And so one post is getting microphoned across multiple channels. And because platforms are copying each other, it's getting easier and easier to do this. And so what I see a lot of times is people don't realize how much life force energy you're leaking when you take a post, then head to Instagram, copy and paste it and turn it into an Instagram post, then head to email and then schedule that email out and like format it into email format and then do this daily 365, right? Like versus you choose one platform. Now you have just so much energy to create and create and create. And it's your juiciest content because you're not doing these energy leaks with
Mm.
jumping platform hopping.
Gotcha. Yes. I mean, I definitely just, I have whatever my Instagram and my Facebook like connected. So if I post one place, I post another. But you always run into that thing if you're like a long form writer where Instagram like cuts you off and is like, it's too long, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
to continue it in the comments or you have to chop it into pieces. And you're right. That's just like an extra step that gets in the way of the flow because, the big challenge here for many coaches, I'm speaking for myself here, is like, in that beginning phase where you're wearing all the hats, it's like, well, I still have to show up like for my clients in like a powerful way for any of this to work
Mm-hmm.
at all, and so how much of my energy am I like really, letting leave when, I have my group, client call in like an hour and a half and I'm like really frustrated with, some tech thing that I'm doing, or I've spent all morning like editing posts or something, right? And then now I'm, about to head into my group call and I'm like kind of done, Like we have to figure out, and it's a tricky phase of figuring out like where to put our energy in those beginning phases when we have so much going on. What are some of your tips for people who are in those kind of beginning phases and are finding ways to like make it happen in their nervous system?
I want them to get comfortable with like releasing and letting go. So even
Mhm.
if you started something and it's not aligned, get comfortable with releasing and letting go because that's going to be a skill set you're going to love as a CEO, right? Is knowing how to strategically let go of a project. So sometimes there's going to be projects in your business that do not deliver the returns that you and your team are putting into it, or it's just not worth the effort to go through a whole like strategy testing phase to make it get to that point, right? There's other projects that are delivering better fruits that you and your team can focus your energy on and just build and grow and scale. And so in that 0 to 6 figures phase, it's natural for you to try everything, right? Because you're seeing like what aligns with you. You're seeing like what's something you could be consistent with. You're trying launches, you're trying like, this type of offer, that type of offer. You're playing around with things a lot. And what I would encourage is if something isn't aligned, it's okay to like release it and then pour your energy into what is aligned. So a lot of it is feeling into your body and getting that body wisdom around what's aligned.
And sometimes we don't know until we try stuff out. Like you said, it's this exploratory kind of experimental phase where we're trying to figure out what's clicking, what's going to be profitable, what's going to be the right use of our energy. And, the being able to let go of a project, like I feel like I've been working on that myself because we get so attached, don't we? We get so
Yep.
attached to like, oh, this has to work out because I've already spent X amount of time on it, or I've already purchased like X amount of flyers or something. Like I have an event coming up that I was really stoked for, and then Mercury retrograde, all the like things started happening, all these things started shifting, and I was like, oh wait, now suddenly I'm going to be like moving that week. I don't think this is aligned anymore, you know, and having to like release that and be like, okay, maybe I'm moving the date to this to sometime later, or maybe I'm not doing it at all. And maybe that's okay because like my life is happening. And so I love the idea that we're not like sacrificing our lives for our businesses, but that our businesses become something that actually supports our lives.
Exactly. And it's cool. It's also good to like, you could come back to things too. So, for example, with my podcast, I have no pressure around it being a weekly, every single week podcast. Like, at the start of my mastermind launch, we did 3 interviews that we like promoted. And then we paused it once we hit the 100th episode because I was like, nope, I want to pour more of that energy into the mastermind launch. And there's just no shame about it. Like, it's on the 100th episode if y'all want to check it out, And I think the biggest thing when you're in that space is, and just business in general, is just being a lot kinder to yourself and saying like, this is what we need to do. This is what where we want to take it. Like, you are the CEO of your business. Like, you get to lead it in any direction, and it gets to all be perfectly aligned to you. It's your business.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, so in terms of how, how is it that you kind of decided or fell into specifically working as a business coach? Like, was this something you went to school for? Was this something you were doing before? Was it something that you discovered that you wanted to do as you were, already an entrepreneur of some kind?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. So I have a master's in corporate PR. So I was planning on working at a PR agency, and that was going to be my life. It's a PR agency in New York. And when I graduated, the economy was not the greatest. So I was like applying, 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 applying. And I was getting frustrated, and I was like, well, let me just build up my portfolio. Maybe it just needs to be tweaked. And so I went up and down Main Street, pretty much begging businesses to let me do their marketing and PR for free. So I could build up my portfolio. An ice cream shop was kind to me. I did their website. Let's see. There was a couple of like other businesses at the time too. But the one that like really like shifted me truly into entrepreneurship was because I had an inspiration blog because my cousin had ended up passing away around that time, and I used it as a way to like heal. And I was curious about entrepreneurship because I was doing all this free stuff for local businesses. And I wrote an article on entrepreneurship that ended up inspiring someone to become an entrepreneur. And so he started his Amazon drop shipping business. And that inspired me. I was like, wow, somebody could be inspired to like change the direction of their life off of a piece of content on the internet. Whoa. And so I really poured a lot of energy into that website. And because it was on WordPress and I was tinkering with it all the time, I had another friend at the time who called me up crying one night saying that she didn't know WordPress and her client was going to ream her a new one if like because she said that she knew WordPress, and she was like, I can't fix this. There's an issue on the website and WordPress. And I already told the client that I knew it. And she's like, I'm so embarrassed to even say it. Just, I thought I could figure it out. So I fixed it. And then the next day she was like, hey, my client wants to talk to you. So apparently that client was like a celebrity recovery coach who had been featured on TV. And I ended up becoming like her website person. And that started a website agency. And I did coaching along the way. I've had like so many different business models along the way. But what all kind of stems it together is just being really clear on how like we want to live our lives, right? We're not all guaranteed a lifetime. We have different dates, for each of us. And it's just really important to focus on work that fills our soul and that gives back and inspires others to fill their souls too.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your process with that because I can definitely see how that was, you know, after you graduated, you were in that exploratory phase, like what's going to work? What am I going
Yep.
to even do with the things that I've learned and with my knowledge, and it sounds like getting that feedback from someone that you inspired them, that sounded like the piece that came in that told you what you find fulfilling, to actually make a difference in someone's life, to encourage someone to have more of what they're here to do in their life, that independence that we get as entrepreneurs. And let's go back to that. Let's go back to that idea of, you know, you wanted freedom when you started your business, right? And now you're feeling confined and trapped by your business, right? So for you in your process, when you began your business, was some of it was about freedom, right? And it was about having that, even control over like, the direction that your content is taking people. Like, how is it that I'm inspiring others? So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what can we do when we're feeling really confined by our business? How can we start reorienting? And maybe it's a mindset thing, maybe it's a strategy thing, maybe it's a combination, right? I don't know, but like how can we reorient ourselves back to why did I do this in the first place? And how can I create more freedom for myself right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, first things first, it starts with what we believe, right? We
Mm,
have to shift our belief systems because whenever I'm working with a client and they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling burnt out, they feel like they dug their business into the ground, or whatever thoughts are coming up in their head, we have to kind of shift the belief system first. So, if you're in different programs like money mindset programs, there's like tons of affirmations saying, I am a money magnet and like money comes to me easily and all these different things. And what I encourage my clients is to play around with capacity affirmations too.
mm,
So my business is peaceful to run. My clients are so energized and happy in my offers, and it's super easy to deliver on. Like my business and my offers are scalable and easy, like, or simple for me. Like my team has amazing attention to detail and I feel so supported by them. Everything is getting done around me and I'm truly taken care of. These are all like capacity affirmations to kind of combat workaholicism and to combat the belief that you're the only one that is like that has to do everything. And the core belief that I feel that needs to get shifted to really create more peace of mind or a nervous system friendly business is really around feeling supported.
mm.
So when we start entrepreneurship, we start solo typically, unless you have a business partner, but you typically start solo and you rely heavily on yourself to grow and scale your business. And so when we start bringing on team, that belief system has to shift. There has to be a surrender. There has to be an allowing. There has to be a receiving. There has to be an allowing for support. Otherwise, we create these dynamics of micromanaging, of blame and burnout, and what you really want is an environment where you feel supported that is filled with curiosity and celebration. So the first part will always be shifting your beliefs because that will then naturally inform what direction we're taking your business, because business systems are simple, right? It's finding the right tech, it's finding, the right aligned team member, it's finding like, what automations can we replace, it's looking at, your SOP and like removing these extra steps. Like that part is simple, right? But it's really the belief system that allows us to actually do it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Because if you don't believe that something's possible, it's not even going to be in your framework of something to do. It's not
Mhm.
even going to be available to you if you don't even believe that it's possible. And I think a lot of us have this idea that we have to do things all on our own. There's kind of an American mentality, for better or worse, that says like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do it on your own. And the truth is like that idea is false. Like, we never do anything on our own. We're always raised by a family, or even if we don't have family, we're raised by a community. We're raised by a system, that even if it doesn't feel like it, even if it's been a dysfunctional system, in some way or another, that system has had our back, even if it's just, getting food in our belly or getting a roof over our head. There is always some level of support that we have experienced throughout our lives, and to be able to tap into that and go, oh, okay, that's actually how it works. It's not every man for himself. We actually always work as a collective to get things done. And how can I bring some of that into the way that I operate and move away from this? I have to do it all by myself. And if I want to get it done right, I have to do it myself, that perfectionism, and
Yep.
let other people be supported, be support to us. I think that's huge because it speaks to kind of the more global issue of creating community and creating systems that support each other versus, a system of competition, and that's globally what I would like to move towards, is collaboration versus
Yeah.
competition. Can you say a little bit about, like, do you teach on anything that has kind of more to do with that, like, I guess you could say masculine model of, like, who are your competitors and can you find out what they're doing
Ooh,
and all that kind of
no.
stuff?
I mean, everybody has a different opinion on this, but my opinion on this is when you look at competitors, you are already behind.
Mm,
So I believe that when you tap into the divine, like creatrix flow, like your creation energy, like you're tapping into fresh energy, you're tapping into potent energy, you're tapping into luxurious energy, you're tapping into the energy that is uniquely for you. It's like a t-shirt that is custom tailored to you versus buying something off the rack.
mm,
When you are looking at competitors, you are buying something off the rack. It's never going to be custom tailored to you unless like it comes custom tailored, right? And it's just not as fun either because some of the biggest growth and the biggest expansion you'll experience comes from innovation. And innovation comes from playing around and hodgepodging from different industries. So, what I would actually encourage would be to play around and get curious about different industries because that's going to serve you more. So, say, like, I love comedy, right? So I like listening to podcasts from comedians. I like to hear how they think, how they approach their work, how they approach, their careers. And that excites me because I always get nuggets that are so much deeper than trying to like follow all these other like, systems people and vice versa. And obviously, there's always something to learn from each other. And I like doing programs with other people, but that comparison, I would actually shift comparison to curiosity and
mm.
shift it to different industries.
I love that. I think that's like, in a way, it's like hybridizing, and also allowing yourself to, like, follow what you think is interesting, follow what you think is funny, follow what you think is cool, right? Because that's going to create a brand that is uniquely you versus something that's like copy and pasted, of like the wellness brand that's out there, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're actually getting to create something unique, like you said, that innovation of kind of, bringing things in from different areas and seeing what resonates with you. Because, if we're really being creative, if we're really being, like, clever and smart, like, you can read a comic book and find deep meaning in it. You can, like, you
Yes.
can look at anything and find something that relates to, like, what's going on with you philosophically. That's available to us as, like, intelligent beings. And to play around with that, that's fun.
Yeah, innovation is so much more powerful than comparison. Like comparison will always keep you in the small leagues. Innovation will bring you to the big leagues.
I love that. I like that. Yeah. And the other piece here is that I think that more and more what I'm seeing as a model, and maybe you can speak to this because I know there's probably a whole nother side to that that I'm not seeing, kind of like when we get into our niche or we get into our little pool, we see what we see and we don't know how the ocean looks, right?
Mhm.
But, like, I have been seeing themes in my life recently with businesses where there's this, like, cross pollination technique, where
Mhm.
more and more businesses are kind of like supporting each other so that they can all be heard. And so there's this like larger field to play in where, like how I coach is not going to be for everybody, or my energy is not going to be for everybody, but I can have another somatic coach that I know who might be more specific to what this person needs or
Yep.
what this person is facing. And so having this system of like referrals and being able to share a client base versus think that I have to like keep everybody who's interested in somatics just on Team Amy, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
totally different like way of approaching it. And I'm seeing that more and more. Can you speak to kind of like the two sides of this that I'm sure you're familiar with in the marketing world? Like there's a collaboration, cross-pollination thing going on, and then I'm sure there's people who are still being like really proprietary.
Yeah, I would say those who collaborate are gonna grow bigger than those who stay solo. So there's always a balance, and you got to feel into like what feels right for you. But what I've noticed is, okay, I'll give this an example because this was so cool. So I want to say back in 2016, I got invited to do like this holiday advent calendar virtual summit. And I still think about this summit to this day because I still have subscribers from that summit on my email list. This was back in like 2016, just from being part of a virtual summit. And what she did was she got 25 experts together and we each donated like a little mini digital course. And like she got like I want to say 1,500 subscribers like from that summit that she then shared with us. I don't know if this is GDPR compliant, then they since have consented. Yeah, but I just remembered how powerful that Facebook group was when she shared the list together because it was just such a community effort. Like we all pooled in and we all like shared this virtual summit with each other. And when I talked to like other people that were in that group, like they were just like that was the most beautiful like thing I ever experienced in business. So we spend so much of our time in business that we got to also bring life into it and life's beauty into it. And it's just so much more fun and nourishing, developing deeper connections and relationships than to approach it from, I got to get mine, or I need to build this epic legacy that's better than everybody else's. Like, we're all going to be dust one day. Like, there's going to be, yeah, maybe your great grandkids might know your name, but I don't know my great, 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 great grandfather's name. I don't know, right? All I know is there were moves that my ancestors made that brought me here.
Mm.
And so when we are showing up in our business, these are moves that we're making where if we decide to have kids or not, like that the next generation is going to benefit from.
Yeah, you're talking about a wider perspective.
Mhm.
And yeah, and this way that we can actually create something that is dynamic and
Mhm.
not fixed in some way. It's interesting just because you meet people and you might connect with them in one way. And then sometimes people say these small things that just feel like, oh, this is like just a little bit of like a red flag. Maybe it's like a yellow flag. Like it's like these little
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm not sure if that actually aligns. And it used to be in my life that like I might just gloss over those things, and keep going with like what I thought, this person could do for me, or what I thought that this could be, or maybe I was just like really enamored with them and wanted to like be in their energy field, even though there were these like little micro things that were happening that didn't really feel like aligned, And sometimes there's that question of like, is it me or is it them? Like, is it me? Is it like a shadow of something in me, which it usually is, right? But then also it can just be like them showing you like where they're at. Like I remember I was talking with this one coach and you know, it was an in-person thing versus an online thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I saw you're doing this event, and I was like looking to collaborate with a sound healer. Do you have any sound healers that you would recommend? And this person got very uncomfortable and was like, I don't really share the people that I work with. And I was like, that's strange. And like I
Yeah.
really liked her in so many other ways, but like that moment I remember just kind of like stuck with me in my body. Like when I continued to like interact with her or even talk about collaborating with her, I was like, there's something about this that just doesn't feel like great, because like I want you to share me. Like if we're gonna like work together and like, yeah, do a collaboration, like and somebody else asks you if you know like a somatic healer or a somatic movement person, I want you to share my name with joy
Yeah.
and ease, and not like have this like I hold my people close and I don't share them with other people. I'm like, what is that? It felt so strange. And it's even like this is something that happened like over a year ago. It like still stands in my memory of this person because I'm like, I don't know that like really works with what I do. It's like not really my same energy. So these little micro ways that people like tell you like where they're at and like what they're about, sometimes it is them. Sometimes it's not you. Can you say a little bit about that? I'm sure you've had experiences like that, right?
Yeah, I think, oh, this is so good. I would say with agency. So when I was growing, expanding my agency, there's a layer of like customer service and customer experience without sacrificing yourself that
Mm,
I had to learn. So I had like a client who was very disrespectful to my team and was like very nasty, very victimy, very just very rude as well, like whenever we would interact with each other. And it just didn't sit well with me, but I was so attached to, oh, what, but I have to be kind. I have to do this. I have to, create an amazing experience, or, this person will talk bad about me, or vice versa. And I just got to a point where like I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I was like, you can't work with this. And I remember my team was like, thank God. But what I want to share to different entrepreneurs is, so I've been seeing a lot in this space, and I was just having this conversation in a mastermind the other day where people are talking about like rude coaches, or coaches that are not trauma informed, or coaches that are bad eggs in the industry. And there's always like a flip side to everything, right? When we do shadow work, there's always a shadow side to everything. There's also nightmare clients, right?
mm,
There's
mm,
also clients that are disrespectful. There's also clients that do not have sovereignty. There's also clients that do not have boundaries, or do not honor the container, or push edges, or vice versa. And what I will say in that regards is doing the inner work to kind of see both sides and see your side in that situation as well, especially for like my people pleasers, or for my empaths out there that are always so good at seeing like the other person's side, and like will kind of martyr for the other person's side. We want to make sure that we're balanced in terms of, well, let's see your side of the situation too.
mm,
So that's what I
mm,
would put out there for different entrepreneurs that are listening to this, that might get the messaging be afraid of like, what if I step on toes, or what if I'm not good enough, or vice versa. There has to be room for error and repair in every relationship dynamic. And if there isn't room for error and repair, then that's not the relationship dynamic you want to be in, because there is no such thing as perfection. And
mm,
I had to really check my marketing around perfection, because what I had noticed in my marketing was I was talking so much about how smooth my team experience was, and how like we are so on top of checking our work, and vice versa. And that attracted a client that expected unhuman perfectionism,
mm,
and that expected us to like never, ever make a mistake, ever, ever. Oh, there wasn't a period here. Like, how dare you? Like, huge reaction to it, right? And so, what I would share in that regards is like, it has to be the kindness has to go both ways.
Mm, yes. Yes, I feel you. It's like the people pleaser part of us can think, oh, it's always me, and I just need to change how I'm behaving or change what I'm doing. And, if I'm receiving some kind of negativity or someone's being rude to me, I must deserve it and I must need to like change myself in some way. Right. And then the other side of that is like someone who, you know, just thinks that like if the coach has been rude to you, what did you do? What did you do to like incite that? Is there something you did? And then there's people who are kind of in the other direction where it's like it's never their fault, it's always someone else, like that kind of
Yeah.
victim mentality. And it's interesting too because I feel like they can exist simultaneously in like one person, just about different things. We can be like a victim in one area of our lives and be
Hmm.
acting helpless in one area of our lives, and then in another area of our lives we can think that we are untouchable. And it's just a very fascinating thing. I think that, the approach you're describing is one that acknowledges our humanness
Hmm.
and acknowledges that, yeah, sometimes we are going to like lack integrity for a minute and have to step back into our integrity consciously, and that doesn't make us like a bad coach or a bad
Hmm.
person or, like a bad business owner. It doesn't make our business a failure to, have to check our integrity and step back into it in a conscious way. That's actually, having a regular practice of that is what's going to keep your business viable.
Exactly, exactly. And so I would say that would be like the biggest thing because across the board, that's what I've seen people struggle with the most is that like polarity of, responsibility, but then that responsibility has to be in all dynamics, like in the tango, right? Of like the client coach relationship or the client agency relationships and vice versa. And so that is like advanced level inner work that comes up that whoever's listening to this podcast, like journal around, get curious around areas where you don't take responsibility and areas where you take too much responsibility.
Mm. Yes, yes. I've been looking at that in my personal world a lot just because, it comes up when I'm working with clients and it's because these things often stem from something somatic, some
Hmm.
experience that we had early in our lives where we created a belief about how we exist in the world with other people and what our role is. And it comes back to something, sensory and emotional often, that is underneath why we feel helpless. There's it's inner child work most of the time. It's something that went on early on in our nervous systems or some experience we had that's been unprocessed, right? And so because I am actively like supporting people through these changes in their bodies, it's like I can't help but be doing this myself. It's like it
Hmm.
goes hand in hand. If you're going to be teaching people how to organize their business, your business is going to also get better organized over and over. You're going to become a master at that because that's what you're teaching other people how to do.
That's so, so true. Because I just did a content bank project where we like set up her content bank in Airtable. And as me and my team were setting it up, we were like, we should update our Airtable like because like this was a good idea that what we just set up. And so there it's so fun like the co-creation between like mentor client or
Mm,
agency owner client and when it's really beautifully aligned, it's just so magical because it really expands both of you beautifully. And so something that has been a prayer in my business is more around like I only want to attract the clients that are truly an aligned fit for me. And I
yes.
want to be like a wall to those who are not an aligned fit for me because I want to make sure that they're in the program or the offering that best serves them. And simultaneously, I want to make sure that I have clients in my offers that are most coachable, right? And are most like aligned to be there.
And are
Um,
excited to be there, ready to
mhm.
receive, are like, yes, more please. I feel you on that.
Yes.
I feel you on that because, I've been lucky for the most part to mostly attract clients that really like are really resonant. Like I'm so grateful to say that I haven't had too many like difficult experiences thus far. But I think it's because I've kept my like energy about like who I really want to work with like very clear in the sense that like, you know, the people who are coming to me and commit to work with me, like I'm bringing a sense of commitment, which it sounds like, I mean, your whole business is about, processes and
Mhm.
sustainability for, an individual client, like an individual entity of a business, right? So there's a certain level of commitment that you're going to come into any work relationship with. And I feel like that's true for me as well. And for other people listening, you have to ask yourself, like, how committed am I? And who do I want to commit to? Because
Mhm.
you could commit to somebody who is rude and difficult and very challenging to work with, or you could commit to only working with clients who are really aligned with you, and
Mhm.
that's, you can look at that in all areas of your life. Who are you committing to maintaining relationships and friendships with? Who are you choosing as like a life partner? Are you choosing people who really honor and respect your level of
Yep.
commitment that you bring in? Or are you choosing people who are kind of half out the door, right?
Yeah, and what's beautiful too is that you learn it in different areas of your life, and then you get to apply those lessons to different areas of your life. I know I struggled with attracting like F boys, like in my love life. I just got married this year. And that was a lesson I had to learn was the leaning back more in terms of attracting like a masculine partner that like provides and cares for and is very loving and like deeply is checking in on like what it is that I need to. I had overly in like past relationships been the one who was like always checking up on him and like what did he need or like messaging him and vice versa. And so it's definitely a beautiful dance in terms of our relationships and it shows up in all areas of our life.
Oh, and I can totally see how that
Mhm.
that mirrors exactly what you're talking about at the beginning of this podcast with having that vacuum to receive. If we're always the one who's messaging and we're always the one who's taking action, we actually don't leave any space for the other person to do that. We don't leave any space for someone else to come in, you know?
Mhm.
If my schedule is just full of all these things that I'm doing, I might not have space for new clients to come in. I have to like actually open up my field a bit to allow for space in my body, in my nervous system, in my schedule for a new client base to come in, right? It's that same kind of idea of that balance in terms of our masculine, feminine, or however you want to describe it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and
Mhm.
it makes you more magnetic too. Like, yes, you want to get your work done, right? You want to do your posting, go live, check in on clients, all of those things. And you also want to take the time for just downtime, like spacious self-care or, going out and having fun with friends or vice versa. It just makes you more magnetic and it gives you that feminine glow, which naturally attracts more clients to you who are just like, I want that, oh, that feels so juicy. And this is what we talk about with working less and not working more to actually get more in your business is you strategically work less in some areas and then you strategically up the ante or quote unquote work more in other areas and that working more isn't always just in your business it could just be in yourself too.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, because you are your business if you're an
Hmm.
entrepreneur and you are the foundation of it. I mean, even if you were working for somebody else or you're part of a team, like your beingness and who you are and who you show up as is the most valuable piece of the business. Without that, there is no business.
Hmm. Preach.
Well, thank you so much.
True.
It's just like been such a wonderful, kind of grounding experience to chat with you because like, you bring in pieces from multiple arenas in how you approach this. You're bringing in the mindset stuff, but you're bringing it in terms of also talking about the way that our nervous system needs to feel safe and that foundation of safety, right? While we're building and strategizing and delegating and doing all of the things, right? It has to be holistic is kind of what I'm getting from you.
Yep.
And that's what drew me to, hiring you when I, did that quickie call with you and had like a, that's what I got from your content because you're sharing authentically. And I think for anybody listening, like that is also just a great like model to have. What we were talking about a moment ago that you were so, excited to say, and I totally agree, is that the master and the student are the same. Like, we learn from our clients, we learn from everything when we're open to learning, when we're in that space of creativity and openness and receptivity and learning. And those spaces are not accessible when we are stuck in fight or flight, when we are
True.
stuck in our panic rush. you know, we have to be able to come out of that. And that is so beautiful about what you're sort of describing with this rhythm of business and with this foundation that we can create for ourselves, is like, how do we create that safety that is the foundation of all the things that are going to come. Yeah, because creativity and being in total panic mode don't really come hand in hand.
Nope. Nope. You gotta bring in the divine masculine. And the divine masculine naturally creates safety for the divine feminine, right? So it creates safety for you to be more creative. And that creativity is just an abundance magnet, you know? So what I'll share with your audience if they're trying to figure out like where they're at on that scale is, if they notice that their business is feeling hard and heavy and not fun, and they're doing all the things, and things are just still not happening, and they have everything set up, like, why aren't they receiving more clients? That's a sign to actually activate more of their feminine energy. And then on the flip side, if like they're anxious and they're creating, and then like people are like trying to message them at all times and it feels very chaotic, that's actually a sign to activate more of the divine masculine into their business.
Mm.
So like one is an energy of like anxiety, and then the other is like an energy of stagnation or like a rut. So you know which one to like flip into more or activate more in terms of
That's beautiful.
practices.
It's really your body telling you what direction you need to go. I've been thinking about that a lot, like in terms of my emotions. Like, emotions will show up as a somatic experience in my body that are sometimes telling me, like, oh, you need to get moving on that. Like when I
Mm-hmm.
get like, oh crap, there's some bill that I forgot to pay, or this is coming up and I need to organize this, and I start getting that frenetic energy. It's like, actually, my body's just telling me, let's get on that because it's important, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing when I'm feeling down and depressed and I'm like tired and I'm like, that rut that you're describing. It's like my body's telling me, yeah, you're tired, exhausted. Take a break. Don't think about anything. Watch a stupid movie and just like enjoy yourself for a few hours and see how you feel after that. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we get these messages and they feel inconvenient because maybe our mind or our culture has told us that we need to like always be one way, and or actually being human means being all over the place and being being up and being down and being stop and
Exactly.
being go, and what you're describing is just being able to like move with that instead of move against it.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing these really juicy ideas, these really wonderful philosophies. If people are curious about working with you or they want to learn more about how your systems and all of that, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. So, if you are curious about any of my offers, I'd recommend going to www.expansionwithamanda.com. All my offers are linked up on the site with active availability. So we set up automations where when the offer waitlists, then it will show up with a waitlist sign. So it will show active available spots for all my offers. And then I'm also gifting your audience this special goodie, this freebie. It's called the Business Receiving Mode Checklist, and it's the exact energetic practices and business operations practices I did to create 6 figures in 6 months in my business. So if you are under 6 figures, or if you're already hitting 6 figures, but you want to activate more expansion in your business, this is a free practice for you.
Awesome.
And
Oh,
we'll link it up in the show notes.
perfect. Yes, check out the show notes and check out Amanda and her offerings. She's very generous, and I've, received a number of your freebies at different times, and they've always been so incredibly helpful. So yeah, check all of that out and learn more about, yeah, her team and what they have to offer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll hear again from you soon. You've been listening to the Free Your Soma podcast. To find out more information about today's guest, check the show notes. And to find out more information about me, Amy Takaya, and the Radiance program, visit www.freeyoursoma.com.